Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We from Group 2 will present assignment from Sensei Nino. The group member consists of Ajeng Asita Putri, Natasha Ayu Kartika, Sela Selvi Haraito Luban Tobing. Then my name is Francisco Asisitra Tuwalu. I will present the material of democracy. So what is democracy? The word democracy comes from the Greek words demos meaning people and kratos meaning power. So democracy can be thought of as power of the people, a way of governing that depends on the will of the people. Democracy, then, it's not autocracy or dictatorship, where one person rules, and it's not oligarchy, where a small segment of society rules. Properly understood, democracy should not even be rule of majority, if that means that minorities' interests are ignored completely. A democracy, at least in theory, is government on behalf of all the people according to their will. So why democracy? The idea of democracy derives its moral strength and popular appeal from two key principles. Number one is individual autonomy. The idea that no one should be subject to rules which have been imposed by others. People should be able to control their own life within reason. And number two is equality. The idea that everyone should have the same opportunity to influence the decisions that affect people in society. These principles are intuitively appealing and they help to explain why democracy is so popular. Of course, we feel it's fair that we should have as much change as anyone else to decide on common rules. And democracy in modern world. Today there are as many different forms of democracy as there are democratic nations in the world. No two systems are exactly the same and no one system can be taken as a model. There are presidential and parliamentary democracies. Democracies that are federal or unitary. Democracies that use a proportional voting system. And ones that use a majoritarian system. Democracies which are also monarchies and so on. Philosophical problems. Philosophical problems connected with democracy relate both to its nature and its value. It might seem obvious that democracy has value because it problems liberty and equality. As compared with, for example, dictatorship, everyone has equal political power and it's free from control by a special individual or groups. However, at least in voting conception of democracy, the majority has control. This means that the minority may not be thought to be treated equal, and they lack liberty in the sense that they are controlled by the majority.
Hello everyone, my name is Sala Salvihara Tolumban Tobing. Now, I am going to present material about human rights. So, what are human rights? Human rights are standards that recognize and protect the dignity of all human beings. Human rights are the fundamental rights and freedom that every person in the world has from birth to death. They are applicable regardless of where you are from, what you believe, or how you live your life. They can never be taken away, but they can be limited in some circumstances, including as when a person violates the law of or in the interest of national security. These basic rights are founded on common ideas such as dignity, fairness, equality, respect, and independence. These values are legally defined and protected. Examples of human rights violations are murder, persecution, and various forms of discrimination. What are rights and how do human rights differ from other kinds of rights? The concept of rights is closely related to concept of right. Something is right if it conforms with a criterion of rightness. Although such criteria exist in all civilizations, it is frequently said that many cultures have no sense of people having rights. The idea of everyone having human rights is said to be especially alien to most cultures. The idea that we have rights is confusing because it implies that rights are things that we could have as we have arms and legs. Rights are, however, not mysterious things but justified claims or entitlement that derive from moral and or legal rules. These moral and legal rules can be found in numerous treaties and laws, as well as in values shared by many though not by all. The existence of human rights is grounded in the belief that human beings ought to be treated with a certain kind of respect. The problem of believing in human rights is not whether or not they exist, but whether there are sufficiently good reasons for supporting them and seeking to implement them. This requires a justificatory philosophical theory of human rights. So, to summarize, human rights are rights that all human beings, at all times and in all places, possess simply by virtue of their humanity. This concept can be interpreted in a variety of ways. These all have at least 2 points in common. First, human rights are distinct from positive rights, which is uh, which are rights that are acknowledged in society or enacted in legislation. Second, human beings have rights as such or simply by virtue of their humanity. This means, at the very least, that all human beings have right to assert their human rights.
Human rights law. Human rights govern how individuals live in society and with one another, as well as their relationship with the state and the obligations owed to them by the state. Human rights law requires governments to do certain things while prohibiting them from doing others. Individuals bear obligations as well, like when expressing their human rights, they must respect the rights of others. No government group or individual has the authority to do anything that infringe the rights of another. There are many conceptions of human rights, and this is 6 of them. First is universality and inalienability. So all people are entitled to human rights, and it cannot be taken away from them. The second is indivisibility. So all humans have equal status as rights, and there is no such thing as hierarchy of human rights. And interdependence and interrelatedness. The realization of one right often depends, wholly or in part, upon the realization of others. And then equality and non-discrimination. All individuals are equal as human beings without any kind of discrimination. So all people are equal. Participation and inclusion. Every person is entitled to participate and contribute to society. And the last is accountability and rule of law. States and other duty bearers must comply with the legal norms and standards enshrined in human rights instruments.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Ajeng Ahista Putri from Group 2. I'm here going to talk about civil society. What is civil society? Civil society is a collection of diverse There's groups and social organizations that is strong enough to provide some autonomy and protection to individuals from authoritarian and hegemonic tendencies of states. Civil society, sometimes called third sector, after government and commerces, has the power to influence the actions of elected policy makers and businesses. So, civil society has a balance between the freedom that each individual has and the stability of society. Every individual in society has freedom, and as long as it does not violate the rights of other individuals, then they have unlimited freedom. Although every individual in the community has their own freedoms, this does not necessarily cause conflict. It is a source of tranquility, security, and peace in the community. Next, characteristic of civil society. There are three characteristics. First, integration between individuals and group. Group is established exclusively into society by means of social alliance and also social contracts. Second, the power that exists within civil society is diffuse, so that interests that are dominating in nature can be reduced by the existence of alternative force. 3. Equipped with access to the relationship between interests of the individual and also the state. This is because members of volunteer organizations can provide input to decisions taken by the government. 4. The advancement and development of creativity that was entirely hampered by the totalitarian regime. 5. The creation of loyalty and trust. So that each individual is recognize his attachment to another individual and they do not prioritize their own interests. Next, example of civil society. First, social organization of society. That is organization formed by one own society without any question. 2. Publishing association. That is society engaged independently in the field of publishing. Third, private education foundation. That is a foundation established by the community on its own awareness to carry out private educational activities. I think that's all from us. We are so sorry for our mistaken and thank you.